All right, the time has come. The group chat is here. We're going to talk about the biggest arts and pop culture stories of the week, including my favorite story this week. Today on the podcast, you'll hear about the job postings for a Taylor Swift reporter and a Beyoncé reporter, and what this says about the state of media right now. I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. All right, before we go any further, I guess let's just get some vibes going. Vibes first, always. That's Cozy from Beyoncé. And the reason we're starting with Cozy is because of this story that has been filling me with delight all week. Okay, you know how reporters have a beat, like an area they cover, like someone can be a labor reporter or a climate change reporter, that kind of thing. Well, this week, USA Today, which is part of the country's largest newspaper chain in the United States, they posted two jobs, a Taylor Swift reporter and a Beyoncé reporter. I am so excited about this. I can't wait to get into it with the group chat. The group chat is here. Kathleen Newman-Bremang is here. Mastermind is here. Eli Glasner is here. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello,
I
hello.
can feel the giddiness that you have, Elamin, to be talking about Taylor Swift.
Asserting Taylor on us again.
I'll tell you this. It might be the best day of my life. I'm not entirely sure. It is that high up there. You know what, Kathleen? I'm going to start with you on this one because you have a face about it, and I want to hear more about the look that you gave when this was being read. So two reporters, two dedicated reporters, everyone covering a pretty different artist. You're someone in the media world. You cover pop culture. Does this make sense to you?
It does make sense. I don't know what face you're interpreting, but I actually think it does make sense. I just have questions.
Okay.
I think first and foremost that we have to say that these are two of the most famous, most successful artists in the world. Yeah. You know, one is the greatest living performer in the world, the most influential, culturally important icon of our time, and the other is Taylor Swift.
Pow!
But okay, seriously.
It's too early for this. Okay, continue.
No, I do. I think that you can't overstate their respective pop music importance, including Taylor Swift. And I think that in order to understand our current musical landscape, you have to understand Beyoncé, you have to understand Taylor Swift. Yeah. And so if you are an entertainment reporter, this is a legitimate beat. I think that this makes complete sense to me. I think at first I was confused as to why they are two separate job postings. Yeah. You know, if you take what Eli and I do, we have to be experts in a lot of things. Yeah. If we're covering TV and music and film, we have to be experts in a lot of things. We have to know things about a lot of different artists.
You don't have the luxury to go full-time
on
one artist. Yeah. Exactly. So I think I was a little confused as to why they were two separate ones. But if you look at the job posting, they do mention travel. They do mention potentially reporting in different languages. So if they are following the respective tours, even though the Renaissance World Tour is ending, if they're going on Taylor's next leg of the Eras Tour, that makes sense to me.
That's a full-time thing.
That's a full-time thing. And so, I don't know, I'm kind of coming around on why this needed to be two separate jobs, especially because of how different these two artists are, as I've kind of alluded to. I do not think they are on par when it comes to artistic ability or cultural impact.
What is this?
I think that Taylor Swift is such an important figure in pop music. So I'm into it.
I would say, like, the way you cover Taylor Swift is, like, it has almost nothing to do with the music and everything to do with the cultural impact, the way it's impacting, you know, what happens when Taylor Swift comes to your city, the way, you know, how many people end up lining up and closing the streets because they're all waiting to buy those merch lines.
Taylor Swift is a seismic event, right?
She's a beat.
Whatever she does, a new concert, a concert film. Yeah. Things change. There are ripple effects. But I think what is interesting for both Taylor and Beyoncé, it just shows how thirsty the media are for clicks. And they know that Taylor and Beyoncé, it's SEO gold, right? You get those. And we are now in a world where, because we're all digital reporters, we know exactly what people are reading and when they are reading it. And that is good, but that is also bad, because now you're in this kind of like vicious cycle. And so that to me is like them going, these are our biggest stories. This is reactive. What everyone wants. Yeah. We are going to feed them as much as we can. And so I understand it, and I think there are worlds to explore in both. But I do wonder, now that you have those two reporters full-time on those artists, what are they not covering? Right? What other aspects of entertainment? Exactly. You made a choice to go after those clicks and to give us more on each of them, but that means less time for the next artist sitting in her bedroom trying to break in because you're full on following the latest Beyoncé clothing line or Taylor movie release.
Mastermind, to that point, though, the idea that this is for clicks, it's like if you see that this is what people are interested in and you say, hey, the news is partly what is happening in the world that is important, but also partly what people are interested in reading about these days. Doesn't this make sense as like a newsroom strategy to you?
To me, it does. I mean, at the end of the day, engagement is what it's all about. So you're not going to report about stuff that people don't care about per se. So if it is Taylor and it is Beyoncé that are creating this enormous engagement and the clicks, as the term indicates, then I mean, it makes sense. And this is not something new. It's not like news hasn't gravitated towards the big stories, regardless if it's entertainment or other. So, even when you think about the VMAs and Taylor being the focal point of
there was a dedicated camera shot. There was a dedicated camera just covering Taylor.
So two things, the VMA producers and directors know that, and Taylor knows that because that's why she's turning it up to 10 every time something's happening. And it's like, I didn't realize you were such a hardcore Swiftie, but I mean, she's a little extra. She's a little extra when she goes to these shows.
Classes in session, baby. Welcome. Hardcore Swiftie doesn't even begin to describe it. But I will say, Kathleen, like the job description in both of these jobs, they do, like, this is not like, hey, say nice things about Taylor Swift for clicks. Like, the job description says we are looking for someone who has experience with this, a voice, but not a bias. What does that signal to you?
I think it signals that they don't want super stans like yourself, so you are disqualified, and so and so am I because I am, a card-carrying member of the Beehive. So, but they also ask for someone with an undeniable thirst for all things Taylor Swift. So that seems contradictory to me. It does. I think that it is hard, especially in our current climate of standdom, to be a super fan of somebody and then to also be critical when needed. And I think that also comes from the artists. There was this story a few years ago of this writer for NME. She was like brought into the Taylor Swift circle because she was writing positive reviews. And then as soon as she wrote a negative review about the Reputation tour, not a great tour, she was
Kathleen
like,
is just full of these little barbs at Taylor Swift. Just like every other sentence is like, oh, here's just a little knife. Anyway,
no,
continue.
I respect it. You know that I'm like all about.
I know you're actually a Swiftie. Let's not pretend like you're not. But anyway.
I wouldn't go that far, but secretly, I like some of her eras. But anyway, I think that, and then Taylor
Continue
Swift.
the story about the reporter. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. So then Taylor Swift basically like extricated her from the inner circle, did not give her access anymore, and she was ostracized. So I think that now we are in this like back and forth when it comes to musicians and journalists, where if you are being critical, there is backlash, and there's backlash from fans and there's backlash from the artist. So in this position, I think if they don't have access, which Taylor and Beyoncé are both elusive artists, and they don't give access like they used to. Yeah. So if they're just reporting on like the world around these two artists, that makes sense to me. But I do think it's contradictory to try to ask for someone who's like a Swiftie, but not really.
I think you're asking for somebody who has experience with the thing and knowledge of the thing, which does not necessarily mean being a Swiftie. Like, for example, Eli, if you were you cover movies. You have deep experience in the world of movies. That doesn't mean that you are going to say nice things about every single movie in order to maintain your access. In fact, that's one of the toughest parts of the job is being like, I got to be honest as a critic, but also I got to have relationships with these places in order to continue to like, be able to watch these things. And I think similarly with Taylor Swift, like that reporter is going to have to say at some point she's one of the biggest climate polluters as a as a celebrity.
But
that is a criticism. Yeah,
is the USA Today going to let that person say that? I don't know. I hope so.
Eli, what's your take on this?
I wonder if, as you spend so much time focusing on one artist, are you able to keep kind of that objective frame because, like, yeah, I love movies. And when you watch so many movies, your opinion on movies changes because you live in there. And so, like, things don't feel the same as just someone who randomly happens upon a film on a Sunday. And so there is the joy of your favorite Taylor song coming on randomly. But if you live inside that playlist forever, your opinions may change. And so if this reporter is looking exclusively at Taylor, then I think that is going to, in the end, warp their relationship with the subject. And the other thing I wonder is, how is that affecting Beyoncé and Taylor, right? Part of Beyoncé's power is that she's enigmatic. We don't know that much. So she picks her moments, right? So do you risk spoiling the magic by putting this laser focus on what they do? Because they now have to contend with that. They now know, on top of everything else, on top of being one of the most watched people in the world, there is a journalist following them all the time, and yet you still want them to have that magic and put that stuff out in the world.
But to me, Mastermind, the analogy is almost like it's like having a Facebook reporter, because like it's like this is one of the largest companies in the world. Everything that it does impacts every aspect of culture. And so like if you are Bloomberg, you hire somebody that's just going to specifically, they're a technology reporter, but their specific beat is like looking at like the way that Facebook moves or the way that Netflix moves. And Beyoncé and Taylor you have to be able to cover them as industries, and I don't think you have to be a fan in order to know a lot about those people. I just happen to be one.
No, but I think it really does go back to the engagement and the clicks, right? So first of all, whoever decides to apply for this job has to be very brave, because if they are going to take any kind of if they are going to take any kind of critical stance, they know they're going to get attacked by the crazy swarm beehive people, and they could potentially get attacked by the crazy Swifties. However, I think the paper itself understands either side, whether it's positive reviews, whether it's critical reviews, it's going to create engagement, and that's what they're going for. They don't care about people getting slammed on social media because of the stands are coming out. All they care about is, they're reacting to this story or this reporter, and that's all we care about, because they are our reporter, and it is our story, and it all comes back to them.
Before I let this go, anybody here going to apply to any of these jobs?
No,
right
sir.
Now, I would like to hear from you.
I have
Kathleen?
a job, and I am biased. As I said, I'm a member of the Beehive.
You can do the Taylor Swift job,
I think I also could do the Taylor Swift job. I agree. But I think if I was at the beginning of my career, these do sound like really appealing jobs for an entertainment journalist. I just hope that they pay them accordingly. And this company laid off a bunch of staff recently. So I hope that it's like there's job security and this person is taken care of because this industry needs that.
Is there a posting for a Billy Joel reporter? Photos of his grandkids, all-time best versions of Italian restaurant, like that. Maybe, yeah.
You know what? If that was a job, we would be in competition for that together, my pal. All right. We're going to move on to another musical artist who dropped a new album today. And you know what? There is, as far as I can tell, no dedicated reporter assigned to cover him these days. But there was a time where that could have happened. Let's play this.
Baby, won't you stay a while? Yeah, you're the only one that I'm wanting. Baby,
let's go. Everything large. Stick the world up and give it to my dog. Can't help, they gotta hustle for a father. That's right.
Who would have thought that in the year 2023 I would be hearing Diddy just do anything at all? But that's Diddy featuring Nija with Stay a While. It's from his new album, the Love album, Off the Grid. It is his first solo album since the Mesozoic era. Since 2006. Mastermind, what do you think of this new record? Is it at all what you were expecting?
I've been seeing the teasers happening for a little while now, and finally listening to the album this morning. I love it. And I know, my wife would love it. It's the first time in a long time that I can remember, me personally, getting a mature hip hop and R&B album for the 40 plus generation, where we grew up with Diddy, in the early 90s and onwards, and hearing a lot of the samples on this album, hearing the artist that he's chosen, even with Nija, who's like a relatively brand new artist, like I'm not even familiar with her, but he has such a keen A&R ear and knows how to make albums. I do think there's probably about 4 or 5 records I would eliminate. I think he was trying to capture some of the younger audience with this, because they do drive the music industry. But if you are a fan of that 90s R&B and rap and grew up with Diddy, like this is an album for you for sure.
Kathleen, we should say Diddy also received the VMA Global Icon Award this year, which honestly was puzzling. I was like, what's happening? It's not that he's not a global icon. This man revolutionized music in so many different ways, but also it's just been a minute since we've thought about Diddy. Did it make sense to you that he got the award this week?
Not really.
Okay.
I think that, yes, Diddy can be classified as a global icon, but as a global music icon, I don't know. He's not known as being a great MC, right? He's definitely had hits. Yeah. He's a great music mind.
He's a curator, right?
He's a curator, exactly. Yeah. But I think when you think of Diddy's biggest hits, the best parts of his songs are not him. And in that performance, I think...
Yes.
I'm being such a hater today. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you really brought the hater energy. And I appreciate it.
I hear no lies. I
just think in that VMA performance specifically, you notice, and I'll Be Missing You, it's Faith Evans. You missed her. In Bad Boys for Life, Mark Corey and Black Rob, their presence was missed. Mo Money, Mo Problems. It made me miss Mace a lot. And Diddy's son was struggling through some of Mace's most iconic lines. And so... I don't know. This is the guy who rhymes champagne with pain. That's Diddy. And so, I think he relies really.
Remember, he doesn't write rhymes. He writes checks.
Right. Exactly. Spaghetti, fettuccine, and veal. That's one of my faves. But yeah, I think that cosigns are where Diddy is the strongest, and I think on this album he has some really great ones. I love a good Justin Bieber R&B track. That song is good. Jasmine Sullivan is on this record, and she's one of my favorite artists. Yeah. So yeah, there are some really good songs on this album, but I don't think they really have anything to do with Diddy.
Yeah, I think of Diddy as someone who's kind of built this empire, right? He of course started. What's that? Sorry?
He's a mogul.
He's a mogul. That's what he does, right? He starts a massive record company. He discovers all these people. He develops them. And they go on to have incredible careers, songs that we know and love. But when I think of Diddy himself, I'm like, I would struggle to name a single Diddy song that I can actually sing or rap the whole thing through, because I don't think those exist. Mastermind, can you? Does this exist for you?
I absolutely can, but again, no. I'm not a self-proclaimed Swiftie, so
wow.
I can.
Knives out this morning.
Fired.
Nah, but here's the thing. Let's eliminate the music aspect of it, and we all know a couple of things with the VMAs. Yeah. It's a promotion machine. So they line up that show based off of releases. They do the same thing with movies when they do the movie awards. It's the movies that are about to drop. Yeah. Those actors are all on the bill and so on and so forth. So I think obviously Diddy getting the Global Icon Award completely lines up with him releasing an album today, the show being on Tuesday. It all is a promotion machine. Yeah. But we can't discredit what Diddy has done over 30 years with his name and his presence, even as a businessman with Ciroc and his parties and all that stuff. You can't deny that this guy is a genuine superstar and a global star. So whether or not the award, if you will, was justified or not, it still kind of makes sense.
That makes sense to me. We're going to keep it moving, though, because we only have a few minutes left, but we got to talk about TIFF. Eli, TIFF wraps up this weekend, and I can tell by looking at both you and Kathleen that y'all are like, it is time for us to go to bed at some point. That would be really nice.
It was time on
Wednesday.
Exactly. What a beautiful compliment. Thank you. You look so tired.
It is a 10-day festival. It is day 8 of a 10-day festival. Y'all are exhausted. I get it.
Yeah.
Eli, I do want to play this clip of you talking to Jessica Chastain on the red carpet, because I think it does sum up the vibe of TIFF this year.
The CEOs and maybe the heads of these companies need to go talk to a member of the union that is really struggling. Don't just talk to the movie stars. I mean, I'd love to be in that room and try to get everyone to get along, but it's about the people who, 87% of my union makes less than $26,000 a year. They don't have health insurance.
That's Jessica Chastain. She's talking about the Hollywood writers and actors strikes. Eli, what was the vibe at TIFF this year? Did you feel that absence of those stars?
I did and I didn't. There were some stars, and because there were less stars, the stars that came shone a little brighter. Yeah. And also at the same time, you heard Jessica, this is the year of labor. I mean, everywhere, it's bigger than Hollywood. Things are changing. People are demanding that things need to change. I was talking to Jessica, and then like her publicist beside her was like rolling her eyes. Like, I guess this is the SAG-AFTRA tour. You know, like this is not what she came to Toronto to talk about. Yeah. But that is what people are talking about. Duncan Crabtree Ireland, the lead negotiator for the Actors Union, walked the red carpet opening night. Right. That's the kind of TIFF it was. But Saturday afternoon at King and John, a closed-off street that became Festival Street in Toronto, it was a festival. It was lines. The theaters were full. Yeah. People were avidly just consuming great moments of movies. And so I think the beating heart of the festival remains, that kind of upper starry-eyed level of TIFF with all the red carpets wasn't the same this year, but the thing that makes Toronto special as a moving-going destination still continued.
They call it the People's Festival, Kathleen, because people do turn up in droves for it. We should say, by the way, you know, the TIFF People's Choice Award is the one that's the big award of the festival. That's going to be handed out this coming Sunday.
Yep.
Is there a movie that you're like, I'm rooting for this one? This one better be the one that wins.
Oh, well, I think that Coleman Domingo was the star of this festival. He had 2 films, Rustin and Sing Sing. And Sing Sing is the one that wrecked me, that I think should be the People's Choice winner. I don't know if it'll get there, but I am rooting for it. It is just this beautiful, understated, yet radical case for abolition without being preachy at all. It is about these incarcerated
prison
men.
abolition, yeah.
Yes, prison abolition. It is about these incarcerated men who are in an acting troupe in Sing Sing. And Coleman Domingo just gives this riveting performance. They have a lot of ex-convicts in the film who are acting for the first time. And it is brilliant. It is so beautiful and small, and it's just exactly what you want to see at a festival.
I'm co-signing that. I love that film. I would die if it won People's Choice. I really hope it breaks through and overtakes Taika Waititi. Clarence Macklin is an ex-con himself who is this like diamond in the rough and blows Coleman Domingo off the screen.
Ooh, and this guy,
and Coleman Domingo is quite a formidable actor.
I think he's remarkable. So Sing Sing to me is the story of TIFF and a reminder of just the power of art, of redemption and inspiration.
For folks listening at home, Eli is on the table. He's stomping his feet. All right, now I look to you, my wise panel, for a set of recommendations of just what should I do with my life? What is a piece of art that I should consume? Kathleen, you look eager to share. You go.
I mean, that sounded like a very serious intro, and my pick is not serious at all. It is, I just finished The Summer I Turned Pretty on Prime Video. A month late. I know I'm behind. But listen, you're going to inevitably choose a team, Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah.
Are you Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah?
I'm Team Jeremiah, of course, the correct team.
That's right.
But this is, just this sweet coming-of-age story. It's also an exploration of grief. But my biggest recommendation is to go down a TikTok rabbit hole after you watch this, because the reactions specifically of Black girls reacting to the big Team Jeremiah moments are amazing.
I'm also Team Jeremiah, so I'm really delighted to hear you say that you're on the correct side of history. Mastermind, over to you, my good man.
My thing is HBO's Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. It's a incredibly well done show. 2 seasons. I spoke with Quincy Isaiah, who plays Magic on the show, and he's concerned that they won't be back for a 3rd season for a couple of reasons. It's a very expensive show to make. Yeah. If you watch it, you'll kind of understand based off the cast and how they do the show. But they went from 10 episodes in season 1 to 7 in season 2. Yeah. And so we'll have to wait and see. But if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. It's the professional and personal lives of the 80s Los Angeles Lakers. Really, really well done and amazing entertainment.
Our producer, Ty, keeps on trying to get me to watch it. You know what? It's you and Ty. I'm in. Let's go. I'm ready. Eli, last word to you.
All right.
I'm going to go hardcore radio nerd on you. There is a band called Public Service Broadcasting. They have a new album called This New Noise. It was recorded live with the BBC Orchestra on the anniversary of the BBC's 100th anniversary. Their thing is taking archive tape and rock songs and mixing it together. So they have this classic, the most British men you can imagine, talking Augusta justly about the power of broadcasting put to rock songs. It is wonderfully earnest, symphonic, and soaring. The New Noise.
Hold on. Say the name of
the band is Public Service Broadcasting.
I'm sold. I'm in. That sounds like totally my jam. Eli, Mastermind, Kathleen, thank you so much for being here, everybody.
A pleasure.
Thanks, Elamin.
Of course.
Thank you.
Eli Glasner is a senior entertainment reporter for CBC News. Kathleen Newman-Bremang is a deputy director of Refinery 29 Unbothered. And Mastermind is a program director at Vibe 105 FM and the host of Mixtape North on Channel 164 on Sirius XM. Come on, the Rolling Stones, Honky Tonk Women. It's been more than half a century since this single came out. You might have already heard, but the Rolling Stones are still putting out new music. They just dropped a single last week. It's called Angry, and there's a new album set to be released next month. My pal Tom Power got a chance to talk to Mick Jagger. You can hear their entire conversation on Monday, but I want to play you some of it right now, because at one point, Tom asks Mick what Charlie Watts was like. Charlie's, of course, the band's late drummer. He was the glue for songs like the one you're hearing right now. And here's what Mick had to say about Charlie Watts.
Wow, that's really a hard question. I mean, I knew him since I was 19, you know. And I hang out a lot with Charlie, who was like one of my sort of close friends. And Charlie and I had a lot of interests outside of just playing a band, you know. And we loved sport, you know, football and cricket. Charlie and I used to go to cricket together a lot. We would talk about football. He's a big Tottenham fan. I'm an Arsenal fan. It's like a big competition. And Charlie and I liked all kinds of different music, you know. So Charlie always loved jazz. He did love jazz, you know. He really loved jazz, and he introduced me all kinds of. I used to love jazz too. When I was a teenager, I was a real jazz fan. Charlie and I used to go and see Cannonball Adderley.
Oh, cool.
So Charlie and I had a lot of those kind of interests, and we also liked. Charlie loved, you know, beautiful objects, you know, he liked antiques, he liked furniture, so we talked a lot about things like that, you know. So we had a lot of interests in common apart from just being a band, you know.
I cannot wait to hear the entirety of Tom Power's conversation with Mick Jagger. For example, I just learned today that Mick Jagger, Arsenal fan. I'm disappointed to hear that. Tom, by the way, would not let me listen to the full conversation before Monday, and I'm very upset about this. We're going to go have a conversation about that. But in the meantime, that's all the time we have for Commotion today. We're going to be back on Monday. And on Monday, we're going to talk about Drake's new album and the excitement leading up to it. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. Hey, have a good weekend.